permission to record.
Okay.
There we go.
All right, and now I'm going to.
Now, I can't see any of the participants, just so you know. I can't even, I'm not even seeing me.
I'm going to make you the host now. And there you go. Okay. I'm just going to give a welcome. Thank you, everybody, for your patience while we try to get through this technology. It seems like every time we get on, there's some kind of technological issue. I am so thrilled to have you here. And I want you to join me in welcoming Jennifer Roser. She is our business development manager at Colette Tours. And as you know, I generally do not work with large tour operators to put together any of our trips, but in this case, I made an exception because Colette was willing to not only manage our tour in an extremely wonderful way, but also to customize it based on what our needs are. So with that said, I am going to turn this over to Jennifer and let her do her thing. Thank you, Jennifer.
Thank you. Thank you, everybody, for coming. I really appreciate it. My apologies, because for whatever reason, it's not letting me see you guys, and I don't know why. But we are recording this so that anybody who's not able to make it tonight can view it at a later time, and we hope that they will. This is a very, very special tour that we are presenting here, and it's a very limited tour in terms of the number of people that can go on this. It is one of our exploration tours, which is also called our small group tours. And just let me, since I can't see your faces right now for whatever reason with my presenter view, go ahead and let Stacy know if you can see my screen okay. If everybody can see, it should be a green screen saying welcome on it. Does everybody look good? Stacy, they're all giving thumbs up. I'm not hearing.
If you type in the chat box whether you can see the screen or not, that would be great. And if you have any questions, please type them in the Q&A box, and at the end of the presentation, we can try to get those answered for you. Thanks.
Or at the end, they can turn on their audio if they like.
Okay.
And ask me just right away.
Okay, yes, they can see. Okay.
Yay. Okay, good. All right, so let's get rolling, because this is a lengthy one since it is a 15-day trip. But there's so many good elements to this. And thank you, Stacey, for allowing us to present this, because like you said, you do almost all of your own tours. And this was just something that thankfully had a lot of the very intimate activities and opportunities like you plan on yours that we've already got built in for you to keep it easier. So again, I'll just remind everybody, this is a small group tour. There is a maximum of 24 people allowed on this tour. And I'll go through some of the details of that as we move forward. So let's just get rolling here. Well, if it'll let me. No, it doesn't want to show. Hold on. There we go. It's just being difficult right now with my arrows. It won't minimize the, there we go. Let me try that. There we go. Okay. So just a very small amount about Colette. Maybe some of you have traveled with us in the past. I hope you have. And we have been traveling quite a bit this year. Thankfully, everything's back open, almost everything, with the exception of probably like Australia, New Zealand, things like that. So as things start to open back up, we've been diluted with people just saying, please, let's go. Where can we go? That kind of thing. And we try to give that opportunity right now. We've had over 400 tours leave to date just this year. And we've got about another 1,000 people that are going to be leaving on trips between now and December. So people are definitely getting out. They're definitely traveling. and we're trying to help that in any way we can. Some of the things that make us a little bit different from other operators are that we do include 4-star guided touring. It is not going to be your big, huge tour groups and things like that in most cases. We do choice on tour, which you'll see in this a couple of times, as a matter of fact, that gives you a lot of flexibility in terms of what you would like to do. So when we get to some of the things like that, then you'll be able to see, you know, some of the ways that you can customize this for yourself as well. Now, let's go back real quick. One of the things that we also tell people about is a little bit of the pacing and how we make an impact on tour, and also, of course, the travel protection, which is key right now, given everything with COVID and travel in general. So we'll get through a lot of that. Again, a little bit more about Colette, and this is important with this particular tour because there is quite a bit of this involved with this. We try to really interact on our tours with the community and the people, not just take you places and have you look around. We want you doing things. We want you experiencing things. We want you asking questions. And with this tour in particular, you're going to get lots of opportunities to do that. So let's just get rolling with this. Sisterhood Travels is presenting this for you guys, and it's Jordan and Israel Cultural Crossroads. And it is an odyssey, as Stacy has been calling it on Facebook as well, because it is truly a journey. You're going to be going quite a few places. It's 15 days. It's next fall, and we'll talk a little bit about that too, because a lot can happen between now and next fall in good ways with travel. So it'll probably be a lot easier by then. There are 24 meals included in on this, and they're all not in restaurants. They are in a couple of cases, homes of people on the trip, and they are hand prepared, and you're going to even be preparing, you know, one of the meals as well. So lots of hands-on experience with this. Stacy, I see a couple of chats. You want to take a look at that for me? If anybody's got a question or anything. I don't hear anything. I'm going to go ahead and move forward.
Yeah, move forward. Those were just verifying they could see your screen.
Perfect. Great. Okay, great. So let's take a look at the map first. This is a busy tour. This is we try to tell people the activity level on a tour, and we go 1 through 5. This is a 3+, as we call it. You're going to be moving a lot, but the great news is you don't have to move hotels every night. We do a minimum of 2-night stays at every single hotel, which is key, because then you're not having to pack your suitcase every single day and move out, which is a big deal. You get to actually experience the area. So the map will show you where we go and to, from, and things like that. The Cairo extension is included in here. That's why you see the little map on there. And as you look at this map, you'll be able to see how many nights you stay in each place. You'll also be able to see that we travel a little bit north, and then we also go south. So we head south first, and then we go north. And the temperatures during this time of year are great. This is perfect time in October and November. You're going to average about 70 to 75 degrees Fahrenheit. The evenings do get a little cooler. You are in the desert. It's kind of like if you're in California, you know how that goes, especially. It gets a lot cooler in the evening. So layers are encouraged with that. And then also comfortable shoes. Like I said, it's an activity level of 3. And you'll be walking a little, you know, a good bit, sometimes not a long way, but, you know, a decent amount of times, sometimes standing for 15 to 30 minutes at a time with no opportunity to sit down. So if there are issues or if there are things you might run into, please let us know. We'll accommodate you in any way we can, if at all possible. But do know there will be some small hill climbing, no mountains or anything, a little bit of uneven ground sometimes, and you will be getting in and out of different modes of transportation like tuk-tuks or even Zodiacs at times and things like that. So just know that there are a few little ups and downs with this, but that's kind of what this one's about, is getting your hands in there and experiencing things. A little bit more just about this in general is, in case you don't know, we go into Jordan first. Jordan speaks Arabic, English, and French. Quite a bit of English, as you can imagine. And their currency in Jordan is the dinar. Right now, the trading on the dinar is about 1 dinar to $1.40 in US dollars. In Israel, where we changed, it's Hebrew, Arabic, but about 85% of the country speak English. So you'll be able to get along just fine there as well. And they have the new shekel, which is about 1 shekel is 32 cents of a dollar. So in other words, if something is a dollar in American money, it's going to be about 3.1 shekels over there. That's just so you can get a little bit familiar with things. There will be places that take American money. They don't really do euros on this tour, but they do a lot of credit cards. So as long as you've got a credit card, they'll do the transaction for you and conversion, and you'll be good to go. Let's go ahead and jump into this. So your day one of the tour is your departure day. And that's a big day because everyone will be meeting at JFK from wherever you're flying in from. Stacy, you're going on this tour, so I'm sure you'll be corralling everyone. And all of your documents and information will arrive to you prior to the tour, of course. And so you'll be able to go through everything, ask questions. We may even, if Stacy would like to, set up a doc party online and go through the documents. I've done that with quite a few people so that we can go ahead and answer any questions and there won't be any confusion at airports or things like that. So it can be very, very helpful to do that. It is an overnight flight and you do fly into Jordan. So as of day two, and Stacy, you can pop on your audio for just a second if you don't mind. Have you have the PDF of the tour and the itinerary in detail if anybody would like to be sent the entire itinerary in detail. Is that correct?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay, great. So if that is something you would like, just let Stacy know and she can get it to you right away. And it will give all of the details of what we're going to go over tonight. So like I said, we're on day two and we actually start at the Dead Sea Marriott Resort and Spa. That's a picture of it. You are right by the Dead Sea. It is absolutely gorgeous. And you'll be able to settle in there for 2 days. It is a direct private access to the Dead Sea. So you'll be able to walk down on the beach and go directly from the property and not have to have any transport or anything like that. It's a wonderful, wonderful way to see everything. So really, that's just getting kind of used to everything. This is another picture of the Dead Sea and what it's going to look like when you get there, and you're going to be able to explore a little bit when you get there. The temperature of the water during the time you guys are going to go is perfect. It's like 88 degrees. So it's going to be really, really nice and warm. And there will be an opportunity to go float a little bit in the Dead Sea, which is a very high salt content, as you've probably heard, and you will be able to float very easily. But this day, we just want you to settle into your room, kind of get used to things, kind of decompress from the flight. Now, as of day three, though, we are going to launch into something. This is another little view of the Dead Sea. So we'll go ahead and jump ahead. On day three, we're going to really jump into the whole tour. We go to Madaba and visit St. George's Church and the famous Byzantine Mosaics. A lot of these things you've heard about, you maybe have even read about, seen pictures about. Now you get to actually go see it in person and experience it. This is a Greek Orthodox church that was built in the 19th century, and it dates back actually to the 6th century. The Madaba Map is a famous mosaic map that's on the floor of the church, and you'll be able to see that. And it is the oldest map of the Holy Land. This mosaic is as old as the oldest part of the church, which is around the 6th century. So this is going to be a huge, huge opportunity to see some ancient history. We think some things are old in the US. We are babies compared to the rest of the world. And this particular trip is really going to allow you to see that in person. Now, also on day three, you're going to get to do something really special in the morning. You're going to get to connect with a native of the area, and he owns a bookstore there. He's an entrepreneur there, and he supports the community in a number of ways. But you'll get to know the culture there. You'll get to ask questions. Of course, look at his bookstore and ask about the art, which will be a great follow-up after leaving the church. And as well, you're going to have lunch cooked locally for you there at the bookstore and get to have your lunch there and have a wonderful meal of some of the local cuisine. Now that afternoon on day three is one of the first, what we call choice on tours. And a choice on tour is something that Colette started doing a few years back. And frankly, we've been copied quite a bit, which is great. I'm glad other people are giving choice on tours too. But it was something we came up with because people requested it. They wanted Some wanted a less active afternoon or morning. Some wanted a more active afternoon or morning. So in this particular case, you're going to get to choose and you can choose in advance, or you can be able to choose on tour with a tour manager. You do have a dedicated tour manager in Jordan and in Israel, and they act not just for all of the information on the tour itself, but also more like a concierge. So if you're having leisure afternoon, on down the tour and you want to know some things to do or places to go, they're going to be able to help you with that. But on this particular afternoon, you're going to get to choose. Now, one of the choices is to go Bethany beyond Jordan. This is where it is believed that Jesus Christ was baptized by John the Baptist. It is located on the River Jordan. It is surrounded by Roman ruins and caves, as well as a lot of different churches. And there's a water collection system. There's archaeological monuments and different things around there that you're going to be able to look at to indicate that the Christians practiced baptism there for many, many years and centuries ago. It's a very well-known place, and a lot of people choose this to go experience and see where Jesus Christ was baptized. The other choice, however, is you get to go do your float in the Dead Sea. This is considered the lowest point on Earth, just so you know that. Also, the salinity of the water makes a huge difference in how you can float, but this is just a way to relax in healing waters. Of course, the Dead Sea has been used as a spa area for many, many years, and it's perfect. And like I said before, the water temperature couldn't be better. It's actually going to be somewhere between 88 and 91, so it's going to be really nice and warm. But your body's lifted due to the salt content, and you're going to be able just to really relax and have a wonderful afternoon if this is the one you choose to do. Now, that evening on day 3, of course, you're right by the sea, so you're going to get to see the sunset. And we actually are going to be hosting a welcome dinner at the hotel. And it's a great way to get to know everybody else a little bit better, especially if you guys are coming from different parts of the country. Hopefully, we will be able to fill this whole tour of 24. That would make it great, because then it's a true Sisterhood Travel tour. And we're just going to assume we're going to do that. In case I forgot to mention earlier, which I think I did, there are a couple of single rooms left on this. 2 have already been taken. There's only 4. Unfortunately, when we go to other countries in the world, especially over in the Middle East and the European areas, we're a lot more limited on single rooms. So if you do decide this is something you want to do, find a partner, find a husband or wife, someone who can go with you and experience this with you. Maybe your best friend. Maybe this is a bucket list trip that you guys can go do. You've got plenty of time to plan this. You can even do a little gift to each other on Christmas or something like that and get the ball rolling. But this dinner is a way for you to get to know other people on the tour and learn some names and faces and things like that of who you're going to get to spend the next number of days with. So on day 4, we start out with what we call an impact moment. This is one of the cultural experiences that I referred to at the beginning. And it's an amazing experience. I know of 2 of the team members in product with the company that have done this. And of course, there have been also some people on tour that have already done it too. And the feedback has just been unreal. But you're going to get to go to the Bani Hamida, and it's a women's rug weaving cooperative. There are women that come from 13 different villages to be part of this cooperative. And they make a number of things with weaving and with rugs and things like that. But you're not just going to be able to get to meet them and connect with them. You're actually going to get a hands-on lesson. So this is where you actually get to sit down and learn how to do some of this. And you get to ask them what you're doing and why you're doing this and how this works. And you can see the intricacy right here in the photo of what they are weaving, and you get to see how that works. Look how thin the strings are, and everything that gets woven in there to make the designs, these incredible designs that they make with the rugs. You also are going to enjoy a light lunch there before you leave. So this is a great way to really get to know and share a meal with these ladies as well, and have that impact with each other. You get to impact them, and of course they're impacting you by sharing their craft. And then on day 4, you're going to continue on to one of the most popular things about Jordan. This is the thing everybody oohs and ahs about, and that's going into Petra. A lot of people have heard of Petra. You've definitely seen Petra probably in the Indiana Jones movies. So you can see in the next slide, as a matter of fact, that you'll recognize it right away. But it is a red sandstone city that is carved into the cliffs. It's been inhabited since the prehistoric times, and it is truly an archaeological wonder. Let's see. Okay, great. I just accidentally clicked on the chat, but that's not a big deal. Let's go here. So this is probably the image that you've seen before in television and in movies and things like that. You'll recognize it right away. You will be having a guided tour, but then you're also going to get to spend some time on your own in this area, which I love that part of it, because you may want to go back and revisit part of it. You may want to take a closer look. You may be into photography and want to take pictures from different places around it. There's going to be opportunity for you to have a lot of free time there. And what's really neat is this looks like it has emerged straight from the rock bed, and it practically did. It is very well protected, thankfully. But it is also very popular. There's a lot of people, that are wanting to take a look at this, but it's a very memorable experience on the trip. People come back just raving about this. Now, in the afternoon, this is where you get to cook your own dinner, as a matter of fact, in an Arabic cooking class. You're going to learn some of the culinary techniques, some of the spices, some of the blend of flavors as you get to blend your own dinner, and you get to bring these technical skills home and share it with others, hopefully, once you come back. But this afternoon, you get a hands-on experience of learning how to do this. And it already looks amazing. So if you haven't had dinner yet, this is going to whet your appetite. And it's going to be a great, great skill set and a way to use things maybe you've never used before in cooking. Once you finish with dinner, you're going to go back and settle into the Petra Marriott for the next 2 nights of the tour. And I did include a picture here, and it just looks magical to me. I didn't even put any notes on this slide because who needs them? When you see this, it looks beautiful. That is where you get to stay the next 2 nights. We don't stay in the Wadi because that's kind of turned into a more ruckus place. They're calling it the Disneyland of the desert. This will give you the more of the peace and the quiet and the serenity that a lot of people look for on this particular tour. So I just, again, the reviews have been great on this. Now on day 5, we're still going to be in the area. We're going to beat the crowds and go back for the actual guided tour. Now you get the one tour on one day, but this is the real early morning, get to ask questions, beat the crowds, and really get to see a lot of the inside places that you can't just see on your own. This city of Petra has served as a crossroads between the Red Sea and the Dead Sea, and has been part of the trade route since its creation, basically. It is protected by UNESCO. If you haven't heard of UNESCO before, most of you probably have. They are the nonprofit that preserve really Earth's treasures, in my opinion. Their website is fascinating in terms of how many things they preserve. And this is a way to see one of their top treasures that people just talk about forever. Again, another photo of Petra. And again, it's called the Rose Red City, and it's because of the different layers of the sandstone. And you'll be able to see the cliff towers above. It does house tombs. There are temples, and they're dating most of this back to the 4th century BC. Now, this is the part where you're going to get to have some time on your own to discover this lost city and mill around a little bit and ask a lot more questions and take a lot of other pictures. We try really, really hard in our tours, especially busy ones like this, to incorporate some free time, because we want you to have that time to really soak it in and not just be, okay, that's this and this is that, rush, and let's go. This is an experience, and we want it to stay an experience throughout the whole trip. So you're going to get to have the time to do this, especially here in a special place with Petra. So now we're going into day 6, believe it or not. And this is where we go into the Wadi Rum. And this is going to be a really cool experience for you, because you're going to have open dunes and a lot of stillness on a 4x4 vehicle. So you're going to get to go in and really see a lot of the inner places that people don't get to see. It's also called Valley of the Moon because it looks like an isolated desert landscape. It lies in between the sandstone and the granite rock, and it's been inhabited by a number of civilizations going all the way back to the prehistoric times. In the Wadi Rum, you will get to have lunch. And so this is part of the experience too, is have lunch in the desert. And it is considered Jordan's most significant tourist destination. This and and the towers in Petra. So you'll have some extra time here, as you can see. You'll be able to take time before lunch and before the afternoon when we do a border crossing. So this will be your final time in Jordan, and we want you to take it all in and look at all of the elements that you can. Again, take any pictures that you want to and any experiences. Now, at the end of day 6, we're going to have you grab your stuff, which is already going to be on the coach and ready to go. And you're going to go to the border with Israel. Now, there's a couple things just to note. No big deal. People do this. People do this all the time. At the border crossing with Jordan and Israel, it will take place on foot because we will not be just rolling the coach over the border. You will be dropped off by the tour manager from your Jordan portion of the tour. You're going to proceed through the customs patrol and the baggage security. There is a departure tax that we can go over in your documents at a later time. Usually it runs about $13 US dollars per person to do that. And that's incorporated in the tour. So I don't think that's something you need to worry about. And then you'll be picked up on the Israeli side of the border after going through customs by your tour manager for Israel. So you get to meet a whole new person and have a whole new experience in a whole new country, beginning like the tour starting all over again. The tour manager does not cross over with you into the border just because of the way Jordan and Israel have this set up. But they make it very, very easy. We've never had any kind of problems with there. And the total walking distance, we're not talking about you have to walk a half a mile to cross the border. It's about 750 feet. So it's not very far. We make it very easy. It's not going to be anything big. Somebody will probably at the end ask about COVID testing going from one country to another. Right now, you're going to need to be vaccinated to go into Jordan anyway, and they are not requiring an additional test on tour to get into Israel. That sometimes changes. We monitor that daily. If it does change, we will provide the testing on tour, so you do not have to worry about that. But the way things are changing, it could be enough of the world vaccinated by that time to where they're not requiring anything. You don't have to worry about it. That would be a great thing if that's the case. So again, we're here and we're headed now to the Negev Desert, which stretches more than half the country in Israel. And we're really just getting you to your hotel and letting you settle in a little bit because it's been a long day. You've had a lot going on. And this is where you're going to get to stay for the next 2 days. This is the Dan Panorama, and it's in the marina there at Elliot. And so you're going to have, again, a lot of the water around you and relaxation. The pool looks amazing. And the hotel's beautiful. We've had a lot of great reviews about the hotel as well. Our hotels, as I said in the beginning, are 4-star hotels. Sometimes people just need to know, and if you're travelers, you know this, in 4-star in the US, it doesn't necessarily mean 4-star over in Europe and things like that. It might be more of 3.5-star over there. So a little bit different, but we try to go to the upper end of that and try to keep it as close to what Americans are accustomed to 4-star as we possibly can. The interior rooms, if you search this hotel online, I didn't put any of the room pictures in here, but they're beautiful. I mean, you will have a great experience with this. Okay, so now we're going to move on here to day 7, and this is where you get a little bit of a choice as well. Stacy, I love the way she plans her tours because she wants to go ahead and include all the experiences you can in the beginning. So it's not just, there's no confusion. You've got all of your options laid out for you, and you can choose what you want to do. So you're going to get to either spend the morning at the Coral Beach Nature Preserve snorkeling in the waters of the Red Sea. And this is just one of the photos of someone snorkeling that was on tour with us, as a matter of fact, that they posted. Or if you're not into snorkeling, that's not something you want to do, you're going to be able to relax aboard a glass bottom boat and cruise the marina also, and also see the marine life that way. So you'll have a choice of doing one or the other. And it's going to be whatever you might be in the mood for that particular day. If you are going to snorkel, the snorkeling gear is provided at the nature preserve, and there is a lifeguard on present. on the shore at all times. You might want to have a towel with you just if you want to sit on the beach or lay on the beach. This time of year in that area, it's about 76 degrees, and the water little bit chillier than the Dead Sea, but still it's more around the mid 80s, maybe even the cooler right around 79 to 80, but still definitely swimmable, definitely snorkelable, and they wouldn't be offering it, if it wasn't, the nature preserve wouldn't be. Now, if there is inclement weather, then that will be adjusted and there will be some alternate plans offered. So no worries about that as well. In the afternoon, you get to set off on all-terrain vehicles for an exploration of the surrounding desert. So as you get to drive off-road and go into the Solomon Wadi Valley, you're going to get to also go into different viewpoints and look from the mountains at different places. And these are going to include some ancient Egyptian copper mines that date back to King Solomon. And also immerse yourself in a lot of the silence and the magic of the deserts, because the beauty is just, you're going to be able to stand around and see the layers of the earth and the history all around you. Towards the end of this, you're going to be driving to the top of the mountains, and from the elevated position, you're going to enjoy the sunset and take in the views of the Red Sea and the Sinai Peninsula. And that is also, of course, the same area traversed by Moses and the Jewish people during their 40-year of wandering in the desert following their exodus from Egypt. So you're really going to be transported back in time in this area. The history is going to be amazing. The tour managers are also going to be able to help you with any questions you have about the historical significance of some of the areas you're going to be visiting. Now, towards the evening with your sunset, you're going to get to gather around a bonfire actually and share tea and freshly baked desert bread while you take in the views and the countries. You can actually see 4 countries from this area. You're going to be able to see Egypt, Israel, Jordan, and even Saudi Arabia. It's going to be an amazing experience with this. This is another one of the views from the elevated area that you're going to be in. So as we move on, we're now into day 8. We're about halfway through the tour. You're going to get a glimpse into the local source of pride, their agriculture. Because it's a desert, most people would think, well, wait a minute, there can't be a lot of agriculture. There actually is. And you'll learn about the innovative techniques they have of drip irrigation and some of the things that they do to make their crops flourish. So it's a really interesting cultural aspect of the tour, where you get to take back a little bit of things. If you're into gardening, perfectly lined up for you. You're going to really get to see some techniques and things like that. In case you do live out west or you do live in a desert area and you're coming from that area, you might even learn a few new things. You might even be able to share some of the things you're able to do. So it'll be a great experience on that. Also on this day, you're going to travel to the desert fortress of Masada, which is also on UNESCO's list of places around the world that are protected. It is situated on the cliff next to the Dead Sea, and with a guide, you're going to get to explore Herod's palace and a Roman camp, and also descend the ancient walls by cable car before we move on with the tour. Now, the next place we're going to move on to is Jerusalem. This is part of what I was talking about with experiencing Herod's palace and a Roman camp. This is actually going to be the area you're going to be staying in Jerusalem at a beautiful boutique hotel called the Atlas Arthur Hotel. One of the nicest things about doing an exploration tour with us and doing a small group tour is that it is with a smaller group. You're not having to stay in the massive hotels. We actually are able to take advantage of a lot of the boutique hotels and things that a lot of people would not get to stay on when they're with a much, much bigger group. So I think that's a huge advantage with the explorations and a huge attribute to them. So now we're moving into day 9, and we're actually going to head into the Mount of Olives and marvel at the views of Jerusalem, including the shining Dome of Rock. You're gonna see layers on layers of history and heritage, and everything's gonna just start evolving all around you. You're literally surrounded by history in this area, and there's going to be so many things to explore. Among the olive trees are the Garden of Gethsemane. And of course, according to the Gospels, the garden is famous at the time where Jesus and his disciples prayed before Jesus was betrayed by Judas. So it's still there, and you're going to be able to walk in those steps and be there. One of the other things you get to experience is in the footsteps of so many that have done this, you're going to get to go to the walled city of Jerusalem, again on the UNESCO's list of sites. And on this walking tour, you'll get to see the Western Wailing Wall and the temple area. So make sure while you're there, you've probably seen this on a lot of different things. And even in movies where they write a wish or personal note on a scrap of paper and you slide it into the crack of the walls, as visitors have done for so many years, and leave your wish there on the wall and your personal note of your experience. You can also follow the Stations of the Cross on the Via Dolorosa, Dolorosa. So forgive me for mumbling that one, but there'll be different ways that you can actually follow the Stations of the Cross. If you've never done that, there's a lot of places over in Europe and the Middle East where you can do the Stations of the Cross. It's an amazing experience to see Jesus's journey as portrayed in this area, and the way that they roll it out to you and have you re-experience what he did and his life, basically. With the remainder of the day, you're going to have that on your own, which is wonderful. And you're going to get to go through some of the other areas around Jerusalem, as well as we'll go ahead and skip through to the bazaars of the old city. This is a great picture here. And you'll get to go through the markets and have time on your own to do some shopping, to try some of the food and try some of the areas, get to know some of the other locals in the area. It's a wonderful experience. I don't even need to say more. That bread looks amazing. So anything you want to take back for a little snack later or something like that, there'll be lots of opportunities there that you'll be able to take advantage of. But this, from what I understand, the biggest attribute here is this, the smell of the fresh bread and the roasted sesame seeds and things like that, and the spices are just overwhelming in this area. I haven't gotten to go to Jerusalem yet. That's definitely on my top 5. So now we're at day 10. We're about 2/3 of the way through the tour of the trip. And this is where you're going to be in Yad Vashem, which is the World Holocaust Remembrance Center. Now you are going to get to visit with a Holocaust survivor, and you are going to get to reflect and revisit this time for them that was so trying, and what happened with World War II with the Nazis in Germany. There'll be photographs and diaries and archives and the Hall of Names, which is one of the most powerful things you can actually view. And you'll actually get to have an open conversation with the survivor. You'll get to have some extra time here too, because the remainder of this day is at leisure. So if you do want to spend some extra time in this area, that is an option. Now, do keep in mind that we have this set up to where you can have this conversation with a Holocaust survivor. But in case there's some fragile health conditions or things like that that could change, we'll make sure to have someone who is very knowledgeable there if that does. We haven't had to do that yet, but I better find some wood real quick and knock on it, because you just never know. But just as a disclaimer, we do take their health seriously, and they are, of course, of a very much older generation, and we want to make sure they stay around a little bit longer here. So since you have some leisure time, you may want to take in a tour as part of what. Let me make sure she had this on here. I think you do, don't you, Stacy? This is where you get to have the afternoon in Jerusalem, and yes,
it's included.
It is included in the tour.
Yeah.
I love that you would have included this. So the whole afternoon is included. You're going to get to, of course, go to the city of Bethlehem, the birthplace of Jesus. And it is regarded in Judaism as the hometown of King David, also where he was crowned the king of Israel. You're going to get to make your way on foot with an expert guide. So this is not just on your own. And they're going to be able to fill you in on all of the history here. And the historic Church of the Nativity will be something you'll be able to visit. And of course, that church was constructed in the 4th century around where it is believed Jesus was born. And after you're going to have about 4 to 5 hours on this particular section. So it is a full afternoon with lots of different experiences and a great opportunity to take advantage of this area. Most other companies have this as a fully operating option, and we try to work with somebody like Stacy who wants to include it in from the beginning, because we do feel like it is very important part of touring this particular area of the world. So as we move on, we're going to head toward the ruins of Magdala. And it's an ancient city full of carved stoneings and excavated temples, and it's on the shores of the Sea of Galilee. Now, Magdala is regarded to be the hometown of Mary Magdalene. It's one of the most significant archaeological finds in the last 50 years. So they're still uncovering parts of it, as you can see, even from this picture with the tents. And it is an active archaeological site. So there's new findings emerging all the time. You might even be lucky enough to where they find something while you're there, which would be amazing. Now, I love this part too. You're also actually going to get to sail on the Sea of Galilee in a historic replica boat, which will be a great experience here to be out on the water and just relax a little bit too. As you can see during the tour, we try to have you moving sometimes and then resting a little bit too. You're not going to be walking the whole time or just riding on a coach very much at all. We try to keep you off the coaches as much as possible, as you can see. This is an example of that. We want you to have these different experiences. Now, after you get to go on this boat ride, we are headed actually to the Mount of the Beatitudes. And the Mount of Beatitudes is an overlook where Jesus gave his famous Sermon on the Mount. You're going to end your day in Safed, a beautiful little town with really weather-worn alleyways, and it's one of Judaism's 4 holy cities. So there'll be some time there to look over. You've got a great sunset there, and it's going to be another beautiful way to look at this area of the world and take in some of the experiences. This is where you'll be staying. It's another one of the boutique hotels, the Roof Sayed in Galilee, and you'll be there for 2 nights. On day 12, this is where you get to wander through some rumbling waterfalls and quiet ponds and temple ruins in Caesarea Philippi National Park. It is an ancient Roman capital built by Herod the Great around 22 BC. So again, when you start seeing the history on a trip like this, we are babies of the world compared to so many things around the world. And it really strikes you when you're in places like this and you see how long we've been around and how much history there is that has already happened in our world, and you get to step back in time and see it yourself. It's amazing. You're also going to get to travel by the apple orchards and the green groves, and you're going to be on your way to the Magdal Shams, a town in the Golan Heights. Again, the hills just roll out in front of you, and there'll be different little experiences along the way that your tour manager, we call those surprises on tour. And so I'm not going to tell you every single thing that happens, because there's some great little tidbits and things like that that the tour manager is going to weave in for you so that you have those experiences in the moment. So I'll keep a couple of those things secret. In this area, you're going to get to know a variety of the local religions, and this is where you really get to learn about different types of things. It's not just Judaism, it's not just Christianity. You're going to get to meet a member of the Jewish community and learn more about the mysterious and secret sect of Islam in this. And again, there'll be a huge opportunity to ask questions and learn a little bit more about the different cultures. You're going to return to Safed for a walking tour led by an expert, and this will give you a little bit of the architecture, a lot of the history, of course, answer any questions you may have up until this point. You're going to learn about the Kabbalah's mystical beliefs, and it's going to provide another glimpse into one of the local religions, of course. And then at the end of the day, I love this part. This is one of these connections we have on tour and a cultural experience. You're going to get to go into the home of one of the town's Orthodox Jewish families and have a home hosted dinner in their home. So they will be preparing this for you, explaining the meanings of the different food and dining with you so that you get to have that time with them. It's one of the things we get to do on an exploration that you don't typically get to do on these larger tours. So now we're down to day 13. We're starting to get towards the end of the tour, but there's still some major things to experience. This is the old town of Nazareth, the childhood town of Jesus, and you're going to get to visit the Basilica of the Annunciation. And it's more than just a religious town. It's also a culinary scene. So there's a lot of businesses and things that have been brought to the city, and you're going to have some cultural experiences there, as well as be able to pick up a little food here and there and try some new things that you haven't had on the trip prior to this point. Again, there'll be a couple little surprises on this part of it. We're going to have another impact moment here. If you remember, we had an impact moment towards the beginning where you were able to visit with a cooperative there and learn rug making. With this one, it's another nonprofit community center where the local women here lead a lesson on the traditional crafts. So you're going to get to see what they do, how they do it, how the history of the different crafts that are shown there, and a little bit of hands-on too, where women there are going to lead a lesson for you on some of the handcrafts that they use to support their entire community and their families. It's a great thing because they're going to have, again, an impact on you, and you're going to have an impact on them. You never know what you're going to learn from someone. You never know what you're going to be able to teach someone else. So the open air market that's nearby, I talked about the culinary experience. This will give you a little taste of that you're going to see. And you're also going to get to, after visiting the open air market, have another home hosted meal. And this is going to be a lunch in a historic house featuring Arab Israeli favorites such as hummus, baba ganoush, pastries, and much, much more. You're going to be eating a lot on this trip. But it's probably food that you don't get to experience very often, and it looks absolutely amazing. So now you're going to head to the waterfront city of Tel Aviv, and the remainder of the day is yours. You've been pretty much on the go a good bit, so this will be a chance to relax a little bit, but you'll also get to go do some things if you choose to. There'll be plenty to do. The tour manager will have suggestions on things to do if you're like, okay, got a couple hours to, don't want to sit at the hotel. What would you suggest? And they'll be able to tell you some things that are great. You'll be staying here in Tel Aviv at the Atlas Artist Hotel. And you might want to experience the outdoor cafes, walk along the beach. And there's a huge nightlife here too as well. Now you're also on day 14. This is next to the last day of the trip. You're going to make your way into Tel Aviv's historic area, Jaffa. Now Jaffa is a port city that is ancient, not just old, it is ancient. In Israel. It's famous for its association with the biblical stories of Solomon, Jonah, and St. Peter. It's said to be over 3,000 years old. So there'll be different elements too that you're going to be able to see in this historic section and be taught about by the tour guide. You are going to get to pass by St. Peter's Church and the Wishing Bridge, Ramses Gate, and the unique suspended orange tree. So again, I'll let the tour manager tell you a little bit more about that because there's some traditions that are involved with that and some experiences as well. Then, of course, we've got to bring in more food. So you're going to taste your way through one of Tel Aviv's lively street markets as you connect with the locals and be able to pick up a few last things there that you may want to snack later and get another little taste of the everyday life in this particular area of Tel Aviv. In the evening, we want everybody to get their goodbyes in before the hustle and bustle of the airport. So we have a farewell reception, and we do include wine on this. So you'll be able to relax a little bit, have a little bit of food, and also just kind of reminisce about your favorite points on the trip. So this is where we get to say goodbye. And just as a little recap, 2 nights in every place we're going to be. You're going to see everything from getting to float in the Dead Sea possibly to the vistas on Mount Nebo to St. George's Church to the famous mosaics. I'm not going to go through every one of them. There's 2 different impact moments here with the Bani Hamida as well as with the craft ladies in Israel. Hands-on cooking classes as well as in-home meals. It's really so many different experiences that you're going to come home with more stories than people are going to even imagine. I'm surprised that more people haven't already signed up for this, but maybe they just didn't know all of this is included. So please tell your friends, share this particular recording because we are recording this presentation and it can be emailed to someone so that they can look at it and view all of the pictures that you're seeing right here. But this is a really, truly once in a lifetime trip that you're going to get to experience. Now, just to kind of wrap a couple of things up, there are other ways besides what we've already gone into to personalize this trip. If you do choose, that we do offer an elite air option. That is some in the information, in the brochure, and the information that Stacy can send out to you. So if that is of interest, we can definitely help you with that. You've got the dining experiences here. We do have one other optional excursion, what I'll go briefly over into. And then there's post nights and pre nights if you choose to do that as well. Some people do. While they're over there, they may decide to go some other places. So that's always an option. Some people even do back-to-back tours if you've got the stamina. Now, this is the extension that we offer as a post-tour extension. If somebody is interested, it is a 5-night extension. Without air, it runs $8.99. And if it is something of interest, just let Stacy know and we can get you the information. With air, it does include additional meals. And you do get to go into Cairo and Egypt. Just kind of flash through some of these pictures. Here's Cairo, of course. You do get to go to the Grand Egyptian Museum and see things like that. And this is all part of the extension. So there's also some UNESCO sites. And of course, you get to travel to Giza. So if that's something that you do want to extend your trip with, let Stacy know and we can get you some more information on that. So this is where we get to the nuts and the bolts. And top of the list, basically, for any trip, but also especially because of everything going on with the COVID virus and things like that, we offer at Colette something that's not offered in other ways by other operators. I'm very proud of this. It's called the No Worries Travel Protection Plan. And it is our insurance. Stacy, again, has had the forethought enough to where it is already included in your price. So you do not have to worry about purchasing this separately. It is something that is already included. Now, the reason why we call this the No Worries Plan is because you are able to get a full refund if you need to cancel your trip at any time. You can even cancel up until the day before you leave. Now, if it's before the deposit due date, that's going to come up in March, and that's our deadline on the date, we do encourage you to put in your deposit way before then to make sure you have your space. Then you can get your insurance as well as the trip price back. If it is after that date in March, you will get the full cost of the trip back minus the insurance. So that's the only thing that you would not get back on this. But we call it the bad hair day policy. So if your pet gets sick, if someone close to you gets sick, forgive me here. If anything like that happens and you definitely need to cancel at the last minute, we don't want you left in a lurch. We actually, due to COVID, of course, this was already in place. Colette's been around for over 100 years, and we are a no debt company, which means we can't offer something like this. We are able to do this because and get full refunds because until the plane leaves the ground, we don't touch the money that you have put in for your trip. So it is still your money at all times up until the plane leaves. And that allows people to get their money back. So with COVID and when we were having to cancel tours, people, and with us canceling the tour, they got all of the money back, including the insurance. We didn't give vouchers out. We didn't give things out they had to use over the next 2 years. We gave them their money back. And that has meant a lot to a lot of people over the last year and a half. So that's why we call it the No Worries Travel Protection. Now, as part of this too, though, it's not just about getting your money back. You're also covered on tour with medical assistance, possible evacuation if you need it, baggage loss, airline delays, all of that is covered as part of the coverage. Again, this is already included in your price. You do not need to have this as an option. It is yours if you sign up for this trip. So you are completely covered with this. Frankly, nowadays, it was something that I very much recommend no matter what. You will need, of course, your passport and the visas. We will help you take care of and get all of that taken care of before the trip. But do know that with your passport, when you're going to be traveling, especially on a trip like this, your passport has to be valid for up to 8 months beyond the travel date. So even though the trip is going to end in November, that if your passport is going to expire within 8 months past November of 2022, go ahead and get it renewed now. That way you're not going to have to worry about it. They do this for a number of reasons. There could be all different things that happen and delayed, and you want a valid passport when you are traveling abroad. And they do recommend, the US recommends that you have 8 months beyond the travel date to any destination country. So take a look at your passport, see when it's going to expire. If it is something that's going to expire within that 8 month window after this trip, or much before the trip, of course, you're going to want to renew it anyway. Go ahead and get the renewal in progress, especially since it's taking just a little bit longer right now to do the renewals on passports. So what do we do now? You go and you register. Stacy has made this extremely simple. She's going to handle all the details for you. She's going to get your registrations for you, and make sure you can have any questions answered before you do this. Just so you know, to sign up with the insurance, the deposit is $999 per person. And we do have what we call a deposit due date towards the end of March. It's March 23rd. With this being limited space, again, it is first come, first serve. There are only 2 singles left. The rest are doubles. If this is something you want to do, go ahead and get your deposit in so you can have that space, because there are only 24 seats. So I highly recommend it. And again, you've seen what you're going to be able to get. So it's something very, very, very special. Now, if you do go ahead and sign up between now and March, we are including an extra $150 off. So in the materials that she's going to be sending you, you'll see that discount also noted in there. But it is first come, first serve, and the discount does not stay in place after the March deadline. So this is where we get to the end, guys. Believe it or not, tried to keep it close to an hour, and this is where you get to have any questions. If you would like to unmute yourself, I'll be glad to answer any questions you have. And I'm going to probably stop sharing my screen at this point so that I can actually look at everyone. So forgive me here while I do that, but go ahead and throw out any questions if you like.
Can you hear me?
I can.
So one of the things that I wanted to say for everyone is I have actually traveled with Colette on a trip to Israel. It was a number of years ago. Without question, it was the best trip that I've ever been on as far as the tour goes. I can't think of anything we didn't see and experience, and which is one of the reasons when I decided to look at how to put this together, I thought, let me see if they're open to helping us customize this. So, and I did want to tell you, apples in the desert. I found this to be such a conundrum because I could not imagine at the time how you could have apples growing in orchards in the desert. But I will tell you, without question, without sounding like Eve from biblical times, the best apples I have ever eaten in my life. I literally could have lived on apples. So, just as an FYI, let me look in the chats and the Q&A. Let's see. Q&A. Oh, okay. As far as the trip cost,
Yes,
do you have that in front of you?
I do have it in front of me. This does include the $150 discount. For double, it is
And airfare.
It does include airfare. Yes, this price does include airfare out of JFK.
Right.
For a double, this is with the $150 discount, and it does include the insurance. Like I said, it is $6,643 per person. That's for double. If you do want to try to get one of the 2 singles left, it is more, because it's a single room everywhere you're staying, and that's at $7,993 per person. It's a 15-day trip. This is a long trip. This is a big trip. And there's a lot of experiences. So you're getting a lot for your money there, especially if you've ever taken big trips like this before. We try to keep the price point very, very reasonable, especially with air. We're probably either going to fly in on Delta or Emirates, I think, are the two we took a look at. All of that will be in your documents at a later time. So we'll have all of that confirmed. And when you register, we will be able to accommodate, if you, like I said, if you want to fly business, if you want to fly some of the different levels and things like that, those are things that we can customize for you. Payment due dates. I just saw that pop up. The deposits are due by March 23rd. And then, but you can still register after that, but the cost could change just slightly and you won't get the discount of the $150. Let's see. There was a question here on the total price. Again, the single price. The double price is $6,643 a person. That includes the $150 discount. And the single is $7,993. Final payment date. Great question. It's not until August of 22. You have plenty of time to pay for this as you wish along those months. So you can pay a little bit here and a little bit there. You can pay it all up front, however you would like to do it. The actual date is August 23rd of 2022 is the final due date payment.
Yeah, and on all of your invoices that we send to you, we put the final payment date on there for you. Plus, we'll send you a reminder a couple of weeks before so that you won't forget, because we don't want you to not be able to go on the trip. So
Right.
one of the great things I just want to bring up, this is the first time that we are offering a tour where we've included airfare. And there's a couple of reasons for that. Number one, you're flying into Jordan and back out of Tel Aviv. So that can be a little tricky and costly. Colette is the expert at getting us there and back safely, securely. We have been asked multiple times about which airlines. I'll tell you that it's likely going to be Delta or Emirates, depending on what they can work out best for us. The other reason is, and if you haven't seen my webinar that I did a couple of weeks ago on flying, because we have so many ladies who are worried about flying internationally by themselves.
Oh, thank you for bringing this up because I missed this. Yes.
Yeah, we want to make sure that we're all flying together. I'll be flying with you. Normally, I will go in a couple days early, to make sure all the pieces and parts are correct, because I've done them all with so many different vendors. I don't have to do that with this trip. Everything will be perfect on arrival. And so I don't have that fear or worry. And so I get to fly with you, which makes me very excited, because at JFK, we'll help you arrange a flight to JFK that gets you there in plenty of time to board our flight that night. And we'll get to know each other on the flight. So I think it's going to be very, very exciting. And for those of you who are contemplating signing up, I'm really encouraging you to do that, because this is going to be such an epic trip, and the inclusions, Jennifer's right. I'm a stickler for including everything that we can, because we want to make sure that you are getting the biggest bang for your buck. And we don't want to confuse you with all these optional choices, and then get there and find out that new friends you've made have chosen something else, or they don't want to go. We're a sisterhood, and we do these things together so that nobody is, left alone. And this is just going to be so exciting. So let's see, we have more questions.
I was trying to answer a couple of them. The tour dates itself are October 22nd through November 5th of 2022. And there are, one person did mention that they would be going alone. There are 2 single spaces left. So I
Yeah.
would recommend, if you do want one of the 2 single spaces left, go ahead and get that deposit in, and we'll make sure you're taken care of.
Yes. And then suggestions on cash on hand and currency exchange.
I
Your
would have a little bit on
gratuities.
hand. Yeah,
The
but
other thing the other thing that we included in this, number one, is your
yes,
gratuities for your tour guides. Also unheard of when you're traveling with groups. And another thing I didn't want you to have to worry about when you get there. So
right.
cash on hand, what I always recommend is minimal, because almost everyone takes credit cards. Um, and I recommend that when you do take your money when you arrive, you take it from a bank machine, not from the currency transaction places that are in the airports, because their fees are crazy and you never know what their exchange rate's going to be. So we always recommend that you, when you get to the airport, just go to an ATM, put in your bank card, and take out, I don't know, I'm just going to throw out a couple $100. So, if you need more, you can always get more. And of course, I always tell you, please, please, please let your banks know where you're going to be so that you don't run into problems with them denying charges while you're, out of the country. Yes. And Dorothy, I think I want to say that you left me I'm going to send you the link and everything, so that you will have no trouble being able to sign up for the trip. Okay. Let's see. Do you see any other questions?
I just answered, they wanted to know how they get you the deposit,
Yeah.
since you do take deposits. So
Yeah.
I'm sure you could fill them in a little bit about that.
Yeah.
And
Traveler's checks is a no. No. Nobody does traveler's checks really. Very, very, very difficult to exchange them anywhere else in the world. So we recommend strongly that you use your credit card, and
yeah,
that gives you protection, number one, especially if
yes,
you let your banks know where you're going to be, but also it will prevent you from having to keep a lot of cash. And then if you need cash, you'll just go to the bank machine. In fact, when we get off the flight and get through customs and what have you, we will see bank machines, and we can all line up there if you want to and grab a couple $100. So we've got you covered there. Let's see. Am I missing
if
anything?
you do have a smaller bank that might not be tied into international teller machines,
Yeah.
that might be something you want to ask your bank about. That actually came up on a personal level because my daughter, she studied abroad for a semester in Morocco, and it was really interesting to see whose bank cards would work and whose wouldn't, basically depending on what your bank had arranged for, across the world, and who they were partners with. So definitely check
Right.
that out if you are with a smaller bank, and just make sure you can access that if you need to.
Right.
One other question I did answer, federal credit unions, just check with them. All of them are different, and a lot of them are tied into much larger, groups and things like that. Like HBSC is
Yeah.
huge over the world. Bank of America, anything tied in with them is huge, but there's just different things. So check with your federal credit union, see who they're tied with.
Yeah.
The deposit is the same whether you're registering for a double or a single. So it's not more on the deposit if you are registering as a single.
Right. So, Jennifer, I cannot thank you enough for a
This was
wonderful
great. I'm jealous. I
presentation.
want to go.
And we want you to go with us.
I would
Um,
love to. We'll see what's happening back then because they've
I
got
know,
me really
right?
busy right now. I took my little COVID hiatus for a while and then they brought me back and it's been just crazy ever since then. But I'm
Yeah,
grateful to have connected with Stacy and with all of you guys. And I look forward to a lot of other trips that are coming up that we're planning right now as well.
absolutely. So, with that said, ladies, let me give you my email address. If you have any questions, Dorothy, I'm going to send you all the information when we hang up. It is info at sisterhoodtravels.com. Sisterhood Travels is one word. Info at sisterhoodtravels.com. Okay. Thank you, ladies.
Thank you for your time, everyone. I know most people have already left, but I really appreciate it. Please spread the word, post on Facebook and things like that, that people really, really need to check this tour out. It is an amazing experience.
Thank you, Jennifer. Have an awesome evening.
Thank you very much. I'll speak to you soon, Stacy.
Okay. Bye
All
bye.
right, bye-bye.